In this particular preseason game, Green did not start. Olivier Maxence Prosper did.
Welcome back. Enjoy the third quarter. Mavericks, Timberwolves. Like, share, and subscribe. And please support the channel by donating. The link and the information are in the description. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Stay safe.
I think that the plan right now is that he will be the opening day starter at the 3, and he can do, you saw what Jason Kidd said there. It's going to be his task to guard the best offensive player on the other team. That's a huge responsibility on this team. He's going to have to do that. And what was the really key development that he had last year offensively? He hit his three-pointers.
Yes.
He wasn't doing that earlier in his career. And his ability to hit those threes, and as we've talked about, the three generation and the open looks that are generated by Luka and Kyrie, if he hits those, then not only be a starter, but a key player on this team.
Nice follow-up there by Naz Reid for Minnesota.
Yeah, Josh got over 40% from 3 last year. My favorite career high he set, though, was going from 1.2 three-point attempts per game all the way up to 2.8. Confidence is such a huge part of his game.
Dante Exum for 3, by the way. Speaking of somebody the Mavericks want to see hit corner
Aussie
threes.
to Aussie love right there.
Yeah, whenever Josh is feeling good, he's going to let it fly. He quickened his release, sped it up, really cleaned up his form. And also when he's feeling good from deep, too, he's going to put the ball on the floor, drive the lane, make plays. He really can feel himself whenever he's got it going on. And so confidence is such a huge driving force to his game.
I don't know if you guys are coffee drinkers, but he's been turning me on to the Australian coffee since my trip there. I've gotten into it. There's a place here that he goes to, and I told him I went there, and it was really strong. He said he gets the triple version of that.
Whoa, wow.
Before practices and games. I don't know how he does it, but it reminds me of when I was with the Mavericks and players would get, coffees with 12 sugars and whatever they need to get going.
Well, we need to talk after the broadcast. I'm curious for this place to get some strong coffee. We got a strong drive here by Dante Exum. He's fouled by Jaden McDaniels.
Remember, Exum was the fifth player taken in the draft by Utah Jazz. And who was he selected by? Dennis Lindsey, who is now a consultant with the Dallas Mavericks. And also selected by Dennis Lindsey, Rudy Gobert, who is playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So
there is a timeout. There is a coach's foul was just called on Jaden McDaniels against Dante Exum and the Mavericks. We'll button everything up on that in a little bit. But let's talk Dante Exum, who was the 5th pick of the 2014 draft by the Utah Jazz. He dealt with a lot of injuries in his time with Utah. He ended up playing a handful of games for the Cleveland Cavaliers, got traded to the Rockets and never played there, and then has spent the last 2 seasons, one playing in Barcelona and then playing last year in Serbia for a very good Partizan Belgrade team that went all the way to the quarterfinals of the EuroLeague last year.
Yeah, I was just talking about Josh Green's level of confidence and how important it is for him. Well, Dante Exum at Mavs Media Day credited his 2 seasons overseas for reinstilling confidence in his own jump shot. That was considered to be a big weakness of his game whenever he was in the NBA earlier in his career. Well, he went over there last year, shot better than 38% from 3 for Partizan Belgrade, and has come back to the league now feeling really, really good about that jump shot. And also, as we saw in the fast break just now, he is not afraid to soar going to the rim and try and put guys on a poster.
Just so everyone understands, I think most people do know this. Bobby Bryant and I are back in Dallas at American Airlines Center with the broadcast. So we're receiving a world feed from the Abu Dhabi games, and there's obviously, we saw the Matrix right there. We just saw Kenny Smith. We've seen Sam Perkins. There's Sean Marion. So that is all part of what's happening here in Abu Dhabi. And
initially, I thought it was the old trash talking team when I saw Tim Hardaway Sr. and Gary Payton and Sean Marion out there.
Well, there's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of course, passed by LeBron James last year as the top scoring player in the history of the NBA. So that's a cool moment.
Go to
the fans there right now. But
go to the Mavericks Twitter channel and see the pictures of Sean Marion from the desert we were showing earlier. Some of the outings they've had. It's really, really funny.
Looks like and Rashawn Holmes was part of the draft night maneuvering as well. He comes over in a trade with the Sacramento Kings. Grant Williams and Seth Curry were immediate priority, part of fortifying that wing depth for Dallas.
And I do think there's a role for him on this team, and he'll be playing more. The reason he's not in this game tonight, he was put out that he has an illness, and so
he and Mike Miles Jr. both. Yeah, right. He and Mike Miles Jr. both, and Tim Hardaway Jr. with some hamstring soreness. So we had an unexpected lot of ground to cover there. Now, I believe the way things went down here, did we have a reversal on the challenge? We did. Successful challenge. Okay, so a lot of boxes to check here in the next little bit based on what's happened here over the course of the last few minutes. Number one, let's cover for those who are not aware about this. There was a rule change this offseason. Now, in the case of the Timberwolves, Chris Finch used his challenge. It was successful, and so he will keep his coach's challenge. Now, you have a maximum of 2 challenges, but, something that's very similar to what happens in the NFL, where you can potentially get up to 3 challenges in a game. But the whole concept of keeping one if you get it right, and that's something that we've talked about. Skin, Harp, and I have talked about on the broadcast for quite some time, the idea of that it would seem fair that if you have to use your coach's challenge early in the game because there was a referee mistake, that you would get to have at least one more challenge over the course of the game.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
And what the key part of this and why this is so important is that now you're going to see challenges earlier in games. Because it used to be that coaches would keep those in their pocket for the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter because those are the high leverage situations. You may be giving up 2 or 3 points early in the game, and you're going to win the challenge, but you still want to keep that in your pocket. Now you can see those challenges earlier if you're really sure you can do it. And remember, teams have what they call a challenge coach, a guy with an iPad, and that's why you see coaches always looking back. And if that coach or player development guy gives the thumbs up, they then go and make that challenge. They have 30 seconds to make the case. So you'll see some earlier challenges now.
It's not just about saving points or adding points to your team's total, too. In the first half, especially, let's say your best player picks up his second foul 5 minutes into the game, and you think it's a bad call. Well, you can challenge that, too. So it not only can preserve your defense or enhance your offense or whatever, it can also keep your best players in games longer.
Guys, this is now a 9-point game after Jaden Hardy finishes the 3-point play. Hardy is Dallas's top bench scorer in this game. And outside of the 25 points that Lucas scored in the first half, Hardy's the only other player in double figures with 12 as Jordan McLaughlin drives it inside. And the veteran point guard from USC had his attempt challenged by Rashawn Holmes. He missed it. Holmes finds an open pocket of space in the paint on the drive by Dante Exum, and he scores. This is a 7-point game. There was a 29-point lead at one stage of the first half, with Minnesota having led the distance. Naz Reid on the pick and roll, and it's out of bounds. Defensive play made by Rashawn Holmes.
And Holmes, he seems to be almost the forgotten player in the transaction game of the summer, but Mark Cuban did make some comments early in the summer that he does think Rashawn Holmes can really make an impact on this roster. And I think being here and getting out of the situation he was in Sacramento is a good fit for him psychologically as well.
Yeah, coaches change in Sacramento and was dealing with some pretty significant off-court personal crises as well. And Rashawn Holmes, dial it back 3 years ago, though, Rashawn Holmes is a 14.8 rebound, 64% guy from the floor. He was second in the NBA in field goal percentage. Averaged over a block and a half. If you could dial it back 3 years with Sacramento. Let's cover some of the other players who are working their way into time on the floor here for Dallas. Olivier Maxence-Prosper is back out there. A.J. Lawson in his second year with Dallas and second year in the NBA. He's on a 2-way contract. Got some time late last season. Spent most of his year with the Legends. He started his year, by the way, with the Minnesota Timberwolves and played one game with Minnesota and played a lot with their G League team in Iowa. You see this foul here. And also Greg Brown III is on the floor as well. Notable in that Greg Brown III played in the Mavericks Fall Classic High School Basketball Tournament a few years ago. Yes. Did you know that, Bobby?
I did not know that. I actually called some games at the Mavs Fall Classic last year with my guy Jared Sandler, including a nail-biting loss by my alma mater, Louisville High School.
The Fighting Farmers.
And
here's a blocking foul, by the way, on Shake Milton Bryant on the drive there by Jaden Hardy.
And as you look at these players out there like Greg Brown, remember there is